Saints, listen up. There are times we need to simply sit down or lay back, shut up, and pay attention to what happens around us. Yes, sometimes we need to keep quiet and pay attention to what happens around us. That is something we often don't do. Too often, when something goes on, we have our conclusions, we have our ideas, we have our thoughts about what's going on. And listen, you can have your ideas, you can have your thoughts, you can have all of those things. But who told you that your thoughts and your ideas are correct? That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Too often, we put too much emphasis on how we were raised. We put too much emphasis on what we were taught in church. We put too much emphasis on how we feel about stuff. And we don't just sit down and reflect on the whole situation. And I'm telling you very plainly over here, it can save lives when you just sit down and reflect on the situation. Now, what happens when you sit down, you keep quiet, and you reflect on the situation? The first thing that happens is that you're going to realize how tense you were and how occupied you were with your own thoughts. And that's a place of anxiety that the Heavenly Father wants you out of. So that's why I'm telling you, lay back or sit down, keep quiet, take a deep breath, and reflect on the situation. It's because when you do this, you have more space in your head to actually process things. And that's the issue with many of us. Many of us cannot process things because we're so occupied with our own thoughts. Now, for example, one day I saw this meme of some cartoon of Dragon Ball Z. And in this meme, you saw Vegeta, a cartoon character, laying on a rock bleeding. I saw this other cartoon character that I'm not familiar with saying, Vegeta, I'm called a one-punch man. Think, think. And I got it already. I got what the meme was saying. The guy was called a one-punch man. Now Vegeta, that means the other cartoon character who was knocked out, should realize, why are they calling him a one-punch man? A one-punch man means that he is doing things with one punch. What is he doing with one punch? Like knocking people out. So that means that this guy is quite powerful. So you may not want to start a fight with him. Now, in daily life, similar things happen. We encounter warning signals that we just don't capture because we're so occupied with ourselves. Listen, you are not the only being on the earth. There are other beings on the earth. There are other human beings on the earth. We know that. However, knowing that you're not the only one on the earth should liberate you from being self-occupied. Because being self-occupied will not benefit you whatsoever. You think it will benefit you, but it will not. Being self-occupied will hinder you in seeing things as they are. It will also disable you from making the right and the best decisions. Look, think about the meme I just talked about. What if in daily life you see an older woman, in her 30s or 40s, and she's always by herself? And I mean, always by herself. You don't see friends, family, and you don't even see a sex partner around her. You don't see a husband or boyfriend. Now, think about the meme about this guy called the One Punch Man and Vegeta laying there, knocked out, with blood on his face. Vegeta, in that meme, should have realized, he's called a One Punch Man. Why is he called the One Punch Man? Let me reflect on this a little bit more. Well, In daily life, if you see a woman in her 30s or 40s or older, and she never has people around her, something's off with her. Because women are not designed to operate that way. If you see a woman who's quite attractive, who's quite fair looking, but she never has a partner, that's off. Especially if she's dressing herself up in very sexy and beautiful ways. But she has no partner, something's wrong with that woman that no man stands to be with her on the long term. So the situation itself is suspicious. So the fact that you encounter a suspicious situation should motivate you to look further into the situation and to look at the context of the situation. Okay? If a woman was just divorced and she's alone for like a few weeks because she has to process divorce, that's one thing. But even then, women are not likely to process things on their own. Alright? So, knowing the context is important. But if you notice that the context is a bit suspicious, then you know something is off. What often happens with us is that we're so occupied with how we see things, how we view things, what we like and dislike. First of all, why are you operating in likes and dislikes to begin with? You shouldn't operate based on attachment, but okay. Too often we're so self-occupied that we don't notice suspicious circumstances. And I'm telling you one thing. When you notice a suspicious situation or a suspicious circumstance, and you decide, you know what, I'm not going to look into it and maybe nothing, you've set yourself up. It's not the demons that did it. It's not some scam artist that did it. You did it. The moment you notice that the situation is suspicious, that's already a red flag. There's already a warning signal for you to realize, I need to look into this better, or I need to look at the context. The moment it happens that you get a warning signal and you either go to laziness or to disinterest, you don't want to look further into something, you've set yourself up. You've set yourself up for future disaster, for future misfortune, and for future ruin. Yes, you did. Now, does that excuse others from taking advantage of you or harming you? No. If others decide to harm you, take advantage of you, they did it. They did it. They're guilty. Plain and simple. Okay? But still, you also played a role in the whole situation. And your role was that you ignored an important red flag that you should have looked further into. Hey, and I'm telling you, saints, way too often, we as saints, we end up in very bad situations that we could have easily avoided if we just paid attention to the obvious warning signals. Let me give another suspicious circumstance. Let's say you come into a neighborhood. Let's say you are a pizza deliverer or a mail deliverer and you deliver something in the neighborhood. But every time you ride into the neighborhood, you get chills in your body. So that's already a red flag that your intuition picks something up. So you tell your co-workers about it. But then you realize that almost everyone refuses to deliver mail or deliver orders in that neighborhood. Now that's the second red flag, because why would almost everyone risk losing their job by telling their boss, we're not going into that neighborhood? That should alarm you. The third thing is, when you are in a neighborhood, you see that it's very quiet. And then you begin to think, hold on a minute. If there are 40 houses over there in that neighborhood, if there are 40 houses over there, that means there are 40 households. That means at least 40 families. There should be some children around, because it's not an old age neighborhood. It's a neighborhood designed for young families. So if there are 40 houses over there, that means there are 40 families. That means there must be at least 40 children around. But you barely see a child or a teenager over there. Now that's another red flag. But how many people just thinks, oh well, maybe when I'm there delivering mail, maybe when I'm there delivering pizzas, maybe then it's often quiet. No. You got weird feelings in your body. Many of your colleagues don't want to go there. And now you notice that, there are barely children around, or barely young people around. So you have 3 warning signals. How can you still think there's nothing going on? Or let's say now that you met someone in a library from the opposite sex, okay? And she tells you she needs a fridge. And you realize, I have an old fridge at home. You tell her you can have the old fridge. And then you tell her you can go and pick it up at my house. Or if you want, I can meet you somewhere outside and you can come and pick it up. If you don't want to come alone, just come with your mom, dad, or older brother, or your boyfriend, whoever, just come. You're very open because you have no bad intentions. So she agrees to meet you at a parking lot. Now you're there on time, or actually a little bit before the time, and she noticed that you don't see them anywhere. But you did notice a police car passing by multiple times. And then you call her, and she tells you, oh, we're already here, me and my mother. And you think, what? You and your mother already here? Where are you? She tells you, get out of your car. Well, you're already out of your car by now. And she tells you to walk a little bit. You walk a little bit to the edge of the parking lot, and then you see her with her car and her mother in the car. The mother doesn't even say hi to you. She tells you, bring your car over here. You do that, you give her the fridge, and you're gone. Now, this story that I'm telling you actually happened to a believer. I'm not going to mention his name. But there are many red flags in this story. Many of them. First thing is, this woman appeared out of the blue, wanted to befriend this believer. Okay, that's suspicious. Second thing is, when the believer told her, you can come with your parents, with your big brother or boyfriend or whoever, she declined. But she appeared with her mom. But here's the thing. The parking lot where they would meet, she arrived there and she stayed at a distance. She didn't even text him and say, hey, I'm here. So she was there all along, keeping an eye on him. And there was a police car passing by multiple times. Now you get already, the context doesn't add up. The context is very suspicious. And this believer had police officers following him for a while already. He's a black believer, by the way, in the United States. So you get where this is going. So the believer soon figured out that it was a trap to set him up. Because they hoped that he would give in to some type of weird lust and kidnap the girl or whatever, then the police could arrest him. So the believer was thinking, what? So she just befriended me? Just to set me up? Hell yeah, such things happen. Now listen, maybe you encountered a similar circumstance as that one believer. Or maybe not exactly like that believer, but you did encounter a suspicious situation, of which at the time you didn't realize how suspicious it was, but then you figured out later, something is wrong here. Now I'm telling you very clearly over here. I'm telling you very clearly, the more you sit down, relax, take a deep breath, and reflect on stuff, the more red flags you're going to notice. Because we live in a dangerous world with a lot of people who are out of their mind. But the people out of their mind, they fake like they are all right. They fake like they are all right, and they fake as if they're decent people. So we must pay attention to warning signals. Because there is no evil and no violence that unfolds on the earth without warning signals hinting that something bad is about to happen. Every escalation of negative tension in the earth realm is preceded by energetic symptoms. For example, in a radar picks up a negative vibration, or in a radar picks up something very wrong, and you feel intoxicated in your body suddenly. So listen, the more you learn to use your discernment to discern negative tensions, the more you learn to discern warning signals, the happier and more prosperous you will be. And look at this. That believer that I'm talking about, he was facing a lot of psychic violence around the same time. You see where this is going? Now, that believer was not a bad guy, absolutely not. They projected those negative intentions on him. Okay? Oh, and look at this. The girl was involved, as well as her mother, as well as other people. When it comes to setting you up, it's those who come close to you that can set you up, not people from afar. So sometimes you think, oh, it's friends and family you need to watch out for. It's not just friends and family. Anyone who gains close access to you is able to be used to set you up. Does that mean that you should never be on close terms with people? Does it mean you have to avoid all social interaction? No. You should have social interaction and should have some close interactions with people. That's natural and healthy for you. But just realize, Satan can only use people close to you to set you up. He cannot use a stranger because that will not work. So Satan will hook you up with certain people that will get close to you, and those people that you least expect will be on sabotaging you. Sometimes Satan is using people, and the people aren't even aware that Satan is using them to trick you into a bad situation. And at other times people are aware because they're part of the conspiracy themselves. Because they also benefit from sabotaging you. At least they think they will benefit. Listen, saints. Too often, the answers to our prayers are staring us right in our face. Too often, the answers to our prayers are staring us right in our face. And we just can't see the answers. Why? Because we don't sit down, take a deep breath, and reflect on the whole situation. We need to learn to reflect on the whole situation. We need to learn to look deeper into stuff, and we need to learn to examine the context of what's going on. Too often, we simply don't do this. And by doing that, we are neglecting ourselves. Yes, it's one thing when other people neglect you. Okay, that happens often in this world. But it's a whole another thing when you neglect yourself. You neglecting yourself opens you up to a lot of harm and violence from other people. Now, that you have dangerous and evil people out there, we know that. There's nothing you can do about the fact that there are dangerous and evil people. But what you can do is prevent them from having easy access to you. And the easiest way to prevent dangerous and evil people from having access to you is by self-reflecting. And is by reflecting on the circumstances. Is by being on guard with your intuition. So, next time, when you feel something's a bit off, you're going to prayer, decrees, and declarations. Oh, here's the thing. Every morning you wake up, go into fasting and decrease. Every morning, reflect. Every evening before you go to sleep, reflect. Make reflection, both on yourself as well as on other people, a priority. For example, I'm walking home now, and I'm passing by this high school, and the whole high school is dark, but there's just one room that has all the lights on. And I'm thinking, what's the purpose of having the whole school dark, and it's just one room has lights on? By the way, it's way past midnight, so I'm walking in the night air here, which is quite refreshing. So I'm noticing this. Now, I'm not sure if I should make a report about it or not, but this is quite weird. Okay? Such are the things I mean. You need to learn to recognize suspicious circumstances. Now, whatever's going on with the school, I don't know. I leave it in God's hands. I'm moving further home. So in your own life, learn to reflect, learn to take it a bit easy, and learn to look deeper into stuff. That's superficial, liking and disliking. Stuff that common people do, unlearn it. It won't serve you any good. It will only trap you and make it quite easy for predators to come after you. I'm telling you. Listen, God gave you an intuition. God gave you natural senses. Your intuition is part of your spirit senses, okay? Learn to use all your senses, both natural senses as well as spirit senses. Your natural senses are your 5 physical senses: seeing, feeling, tasting, touching, and hearing. And you also have your spirit senses, your intuition, your imagination, the ability to project, the ability to decree and declare. Listen, use all your senses that God designed you with. If you don't use your spirit senses, you are neglecting yourself. You're putting yourself at big risk. You're putting yourself in harm's way. Stop doing that. This is it for now. I'm almost at home.